Greetings, humans. It's so wonderful to be with all of you living creatures today. It's been quite a week. Anyway, Zbot4096 here, coming to you from Zogplex with our spoiler-ish review of a human rectangular entertainment form, the film High Noon, recently released on 4K disc. High Noon came out in theaters in 1952 and created a storm of controversy by turning the conventional Western on its head. Overcoming that, it earned a spot on the AFI's all-time top 100 list and was among the first 25 films selected for preservation by the National Film Registry. And this film was just released in 4K exclusively on disc by Kino Lorber Studios this week on May 7th, 2024. We have actually seen this film a couple of times already on previous low-definition home video formats, and we're thrilled to see it in this cinematic 4K format, as a masterpiece getting the respect it deserves. Notably, the disc has no extras, but frankly, having the film in this pristine format is enough. First, some framing on spoilers for this review. As mentioned, the film came out in 1952. At the same time, many viewers likely have not seen the film or ever had any exposure to the marketing for it. For what we want to say about the film, we are deciding to talk about some details concerning the premise and the middle act. As we've said before, we just don't have it in us to give away the finale of a movie or show, so viewers can trust that that standard will be held to here. Therefore, we are defining this review's approach to plot details as spoiler-ish. You may then ask, what is worth putting this much thought into? After all, what could be so great about a dusty old black and white Western presented in the century-old 4:3 aspect ratio, with a repetitive ballad playing over it, you might ask? Well, partner, everything. First, the film was directed by Fred Zinnemann, whose very next film would be another landmark challenge to convention from here to eternity. High Noon stars screen legends Gary Cooper as Marshall Will Kane and, Grace Kelly as his young bride Amy Fowler. Cooper won an Oscar for this performance and, at the time, the scorn of John Wayne, who called this film the most un-American thing he had seen in his whole life. Why? What is going on here? The premise of the film is simple. Marshall Kane is retiring, getting married, and moving from town all in one morning. However, just as he's hanging up his badge, a telegram report tells him that a killer he put away has been released early and returns on the noon train. The town leadership, following him around, rushes him out of town, even though his replacement doesn't arrive until the next day. But Kane's sense of duty and the logic of fighting on home turf make him decide to stand firm and confront the killer. Sounds like a normal Western so far. But here's where things start to get real. His bride doesn't stand by him and decides to leave on that noon train. Kane sets out to build a posse to resist the killer and his gang, who are waiting to join him when he arrives at that station. The story unfolds with him physically visiting individuals and gatherings that Sunday morning to make his case face to face. Like many Earth stories, one can easily chuckle at the lack of telepathy to instantly address these issues, let alone the current Earth approach to problem solving of sending an emoji-filled post out on social media. But High Noon's door-to-door interpersonal process is exactly the thing that delivers the drama and rising tension of the story. The judge, the mayor, and the former marshal, all in succession, tell Kane to leave. Get out of town. When Kane walks into the saloon to raise a posse, he fails completely. His deputy proposes an untenable bargain and then resigns. The church members decide that a gunfight is bad for business. The one volunteer reneges on his offer. Kane is left utterly alone. This tension of seeking but gaining no support is most of the runtime of the movie, which, not coincidentally, matches the inexorable ticking of clocks to the noon arrival of the killer, all artfully matched in real time by the runtime of the movie. Where a conventional Western will tell you that a strong male character can lead the civilized in taming the uncivilized, here the civilized are cowards who abandon their male defender and hide. Instead, the theme of the film is more about standing true to your principles, even when society puts self-interest ahead of any principle. This theme was radical for its time and had direct criticism of the massive wave of nationalism that the US was presenting in the 1950s, and in fact still defines the duality of American politics today. And that's just the premise of the film. More audaciously, the film demonstrates strong representation of women and minorities, with Helen Ramirez, played by Katie Jurado, as a key business owner with the sharpest perceptions of the balance of power. She is absolutely riveting in this role, earning her the first Golden Globe win for a Latin American woman. She even slaps a young Lloyd Bridges across the face, and it works. And then there's Amy Fowler, played by Grace Kelly, who seems to be playing a stereotypical, poorly presented wife with little agency, until she stands up to a newlywed husband, and then plays a crucial and proactive role in the climax of the film. Her strength of character and advanced empowerment were in fact cited against the film as being not ideal for a Western by Rio Bravo director Howard Hawks. Well, as a neutral observer of the human condition, we would offer the alternative view that the Western was well overdue for an update. And in fact, this film has become a favorite of political leaders, both American and worldwide, using this narrative of standing up to fear and tyranny, adapting the cowboy from a romanticized tough guy hero leading the posse to instead be a solo justice warrior who may be left to stand alone for what is right. With a provocative premise and a gripping, rising tension, the climax absolutely delivers. As mentioned, this is the point we'll draw the line on spoilers. What we will say is only that we will reference the storytelling format and setting of the film. Like the challenge of communications described earlier, the challenge of combat is also drawn out due to the limited capabilities of firearms technology. What would be solved in seconds with a plasma rifle in a 40-watt range in real life, or a spray of automatic weapons on modern Earth, is instead a meticulous turn-based strategy game of a battle in High Noon. There's a sense of targeted precision and hard-nosed negotiation to this combat, unlike the brutal collateral damage of modern Earth warfare. Not that any combat is inherently better than any other. That very question of the morality of violence is central to the tension between Kane's duty and Fowler's pacifism. Even this style of combat is considered brutal and devastating, cutting down families in a lawless world, presenting the Wild West as riddled with horrors as compared to the romance of westerns to date. With that tension in the foreground, the combat appears less gratuitous and more pointed and meaningful. The aftermath is there for all to see, and the consequences of the climax are allowed to have deliberate impact. As for the main character, Marshall Cain isn't presented as perfect either. He carries with him some anachronisms of his time, both from the Old West and 1950s America. Some of it is intentional, such as when he strikes a saloon owner after overhearing him joking about him dying in the pending gunfight, and then that owner tells him it's not right for him to do that, since he carries a badge and a gun. This is a spine-tingling moment that also telegraphs across time and space to police brutality in modern America and beyond. Some of the anachronisms are likely unintentional. For example, he's very bossy with his wife Amy, who he appears to be twice as old as. He also pulls back as if to strike a mouthy 14-year-old assistant before chuckling it off. But the presentation of looming violence by an adult as casual humor was never comfortable, really, and now rarely seen in modern Earth entertainment. However, if we can time-box those anachronisms, Marshall Cain's journey is deeply resonant. If this metaphor works for 1980s Eastern Bloc revolutionaries and modern US presidents, this metaphor works across time and space, galaxy-wide as well. It's easy to be afraid and to find reasons to back down. It's hard to stand up for what you believe in when nobody else stands with you. You have to believe in your core that you are right and not be swayed by public sentiment. This is extremely challenging to do in real life. It's therefore that much more important to cherish and highlight stories where the hero stands up to not just the villain, but to their entire complacent community as well. The fact that humans celebrate a story like this is one more reason to give them the benefit of the doubt, when their actions sometimes reflect poorly on them. We put high noon high up in the case for humanity. So it should come as no surprise that our contextual assessment of High Noon is that it earns our highest possible rating. And so concludes this human version of our review. If you have feedback on it, please write in your comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zogplex. You can expect more reviews of streaming shows, theatrical movies, and 4K home video releases as we continue to engage with your human rectangular entertainment. So please watch, like, subscribe, and comment so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. Until next time, farewell, humans.